Nice
telling
Star Warsy backdrop
it
there.
had to go all the way over the ocean. So yeah.
Nice. Let me just remove mine because I've actually just, here we go. That's my shelf. That's actually, it's not a photo. That's just the crap that's behind me. But nice little light on and everything there.
Yeah, man.
Not as Star Warsy as yours, but that is fine.
Well, I don't think I've
Wow.
podcasted from this corner, so I thought maybe that would be kind of fun. So, and especially since I don't know, I have a couple of topics I want to discuss with you, and a major one is Star Wars, and
Good.
yeah. So,
because I was
how you
ready
been,
to, I was ready to do this podcast, and normally it's like we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about that.
Right.
I'm sitting here going, I haven't got a clue. I know we'll come up with something, but I haven't got a clue. So I'm quite happy that you've got topics that we can cover. I am okay.
Yeah, man.
How are you? You were not well.
Yeah. Just some sort of 24-hour stomach flu. So I was better by Friday afternoon, and but yeah, man, it was it just yeah.
Rough.
I don't know what it was, man, but I mean that's what you get when you go out and you're social. You know what I mean? You go out and
apparently I read about the social thing once online. doesn't look appealing, but you know.
No, I agree with you there too, man. Let's see here. But yeah, man, I was really excited to podcast with you last week, and then it happened. So let's see here. Pull up my notes.
But we are back. So
yeah. I wonder if let's see. Okay, there was this big message that said Stuart is recording the call, which I'm aware of. So I thought I could get rid of it and have a better, view of the room, man.
If I wasn't recording this call, this would be like one of the worst ways to podcast ever, wouldn't it? It would become a conversation.
Right. That's it, man. And we get to the end and you go, wow, wait a minute, right?
That used to happen, though. I don't know whether you had that with Waxing Cinematic. I think you did. I think you had like a lost episode to be like, well, that went really well.
Oh, yeah.
There is a problem.
Right. And it's always the best ones. I think, when you really feel that magic happening, and then it, it wasn't recorded for posterity. So yeah,
it's
man.
worse when it's with a guest, as in like somebody from the film world, because they're like, hey, when's that episode going up? And you're like,
right.
It's never going to, because then you look unprofessional, and we don't, not that we are professional, because we don't get paid for podcasting, so we're amateurs.
Right. Well, that you can always blame the hard drive, thumb drive, whatever, right? Or Skype. Skype is also, I think, a viable blame thing.
So what topics have you got, Job? What have you got? What have you brought with you? Let's get into
them. Let's see here. First of all, Donald Sutherland passing. That was kind of we're to the age where some of the actors that we grew up with as kids, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, stuff like that. I'm sure he did some more prestigious work, but that one was, top for me. But anyway, it was, and it's interesting that I don't watch the news, but yet Twitter let me know. Which, by the way, to answer Elon Musk's question, I still tweet, but now if I call it up in browser, it is X. I just type in X and boom. So
I've changed my bookmark because I had it Twitter and then it ports. But at some point you're going to wake up in the morning, it'll be like, that twitter.com doesn't exist anymore. So I just changed it. I actually still tweet, but if somebody mentions what platform do you tweet on, I do say X now, because it's like, you know what, it's been long enough.
Yeah.
We can call it Twitter all we want. The name's not coming back, really, is it? So
not until we accept it, and then it will. Once we accept X, then it'll be Twitter again. There was some cool logo that somebody had done. Maybe it was Musk, but there was the X, which one of the descending elements turned into a bird's wing. So it was kind of like an homage to the blue bird that used to tweet for us. So there is a TV, there's like a documentary called Bratz. It's on Hulu. Have you seen it yet?
I have. I saw it really fast because I'm a huge fan of am I allowed to say I'm a fan of the Brat Pack now? Because I'm a bit conflicted. Is it a bad thing? Is it it was never a bad thing when I was growing up. It was a marketing tool.
Oh yeah. Well, that and I never knew there was a downside to being a part of the Brat Pack. I just thought it was like the Rat Pack of old, but it's
Yeah.
young kids, so they call them brats. But it's interesting the stigma that I didn't know about. I mean, like
Oh.
I did wonder what happened to Andrew McCarthy because he did seem to just be in everything, and then boom, he was just kind of gone. And but I mean, a lot of the other people have done well. I think Demi Moore did great until it was, what was that, Striptease, whatever that movie was that she
Yeah.
did. And I think that was like, okay, we've seen her boobs, so we're done. I think that was the consensus, like
Yeah.
from all the people our age. I mean, it was kind of like that was the thing back when we were in high school, and it's like,
Hmm.
okay, done, check that off the list, move on to the next starlet. It was stupid, but yet testosterone will do it to you every time.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so it was very interesting. But they brought up some valid points that really kind of, with the acolyte, really hit home with me as far as when did we start. And I say we, but when
Yeah.
did Hollywood start making films that were less about heart and more about box office or streaming numbers or whatever? When did that happen? Because I remember going to movies that were, I mean, like, they had something they were trying to say, whether it was for a broad demographic or a narrow one. I mean, like, they just came out, and it wasn't the landslide of movies that we have now, and that's later on in my notes. But at what point did it's like, they started doing the math. And I was even talking to Michelle and Vanell about this the other day, and it's like, well, and Vanell said, well, it was when they came up with the list, the digital list where you could type in stuff. But I remember hearing rumors of like a paper list where, it's like, okay, Van Damme is well loved in,
Yeah.
wherever overseas. And so that was your target market based upon the subject matter of your movie. And then you had, so we've got to get Van Damme. It's math versus heart. So when did that happen, man?
I would hazard a guess that the first instance was Jaws, with the whole invention of the phrase blockbuster. That came
Right.
out, and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that made a lot of money. How'd that work? Oh, we released it
Right.
in loads of theaters." Then there was
Yeah.
Star Wars, which
Yeah.
then, um, then probably the instances in the 80s when we started to see the rise of sequels. Like your Indiana
Right.
Jones Temple of Doom, your Indiana Jones Last Crusade.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a time when, and I still don't think we're there now, where it's like everything is this. You look on Facebook or whatever, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's all sequels," and it's not. It just feels that way because that's all everybody's watching. That's all that is
Right.
making money now. But
Yeah.
I kind of wish that film studios weren't run by people who looked at spreadsheets.
Yeah.
But I
And
think
it's
every business is run that way now. The one I worked for was run by spreadsheets rather than
right.
doing the job, and that was one of the reasons I'm like, I'm out of here. I don't work that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Well, you look at Star Wars, Close Encounters. I mean, like in the 70s, I don't know that trilogies were a thing.
No.
And one and done was enough. I mean, I don't think George Lucas thought in a million years he'd be able to make a second Star Wars movie and
Mm.
continue the story. um but I mean, at some point somebody said, hey, you know what, we can make a trilogy. It's like, and the first trilogy where I really kind of saw it in action was the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. Now,
Okay.
maybe there were
Yeah.
some trilogies before, but that's when I noticed it's like, wait a minute. If you have movie scripts for a series of 3 movies, and they didn't really want to go beyond it, they had to reboot it every
Mm.
time. But yeah, I mean, like, it just, so again, that seems forced to me. It's like, oh, well, you got to have an overall arc. And I mean, like, what I guess I enjoy the movies that you can watch and you're done. Now, I
Yeah.
love trilogies too, but
Yeah.
when you can watch, it's like, Roadhouse 2 is going to be, coming out. So,
Yep.
which is fine. I mean, like,
Hmm.
we're up to the level of ludicrosity. Not that that's a word, but I'll coin
It
it
is now.
here.
It is now.
Yes, it
Yep.
is. It's on par with like Fast and Furious movies,
Yeah,
where,
it kind of is.
but yet, okay, we know that his nemesis walked out bare-assed out of the hospital at the end.
Mhm.
And no matter how badly Gyllenhaal was broken, he could be unbroken. He could heal. So yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
no doubt that will be a fun sequel. But I don't know, man. It just there's so many things that just feel forced. So that kind of leads me to the Acolyte. You and I grew up with Star Wars,
Yep.
and there was a canon. There was you look at John Favreau and Dave Filoni. Those guys respect and honor George Lucas's vision, and I don't feel like the sequels. I don't feel like those did.
No.
But then when the Mandalorian and some of these other and then the Bad Batch and oh my gosh, whatever the other
Yes.
animated Star Wars movies, TV
Clone
shows,
Wars and
Clone Wars, yeah,
yeah.
man, that went back to Lucas's vision, and it was just like, I mean, like the stuff that John Favreau put into the Mandalorian was just, I mean, like it took me back to my childhood. The Acolyte, however, just gets worse, man. I mean, like we watched the last episode. I guess it's episode 5.
Yeah.
Last night, mainly because I wanted to have watched it by the time you and I talked.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I get it. If my lightsaber cuts yours off right there, somewhere, then it'll malfunction. But I have never in my life found that batteries affected lightsabers, but it was just like when the kids in Goonies go into the cave or wherever, right? And it's like, oh, my flashlight's not working. You bang it, and then it comes back on. For a
See, I don't. Anybody who's not up to date with the Acolyte, go away, come back. We're going to talk about
Oh
episode
yeah,
5
sorry, man. I
right
should
up
have
to
given
that. Oh,
a spoiler alert.
it's fine. It's all over the internet anyway.
Yeah.
I'm conflicted about the Acolyte because
Mhm.
my thoughts on the Acolyte overall as a series is I think it's fine and it's entertaining me and it's okay. I'm not like, oh, I want the next episode. Whoa, I can't wait till next Wednesday. I'm not at that level. I'm not like, finally we get the Star Wars I grew up with. But I'm not like some of these crazy people that are just really laying into the show. I'm not of that level. For me, it's a Disney TV show. It's fine.
Right.
So, keep me entertained. I did a video on the YouTube channel, which I don't know whether you watched it or not, but it was.
I did. Your 5 reasons that the Acolyte sucks, or something similar. I'm paraphrasing.
Partly that video was done as an experiment to see how the YouTube algorithm copes with it. I wanted to see if it goes crazy. It hasn't gone crazy yet. It's not done too bad, but it's not gone mental. But everything in it was genuine. I think there are issues with it. The lightsabers thing, no, I don't think it was the batteries, because if you notice, and I'm not one of these, it's like, well, actually in frame number 3025, I'm not that much of a Star Wars expert when it comes to talking about stuff.
You're not. That's a totally different YouTube channel where he slows it down. So what is it? 1 frame per, I don't know, 15 seconds, and he's looking for every little thing. Yeah.
But there were 2 people's lightsabers that went off at the same time. There was 2 Jedis, which means it wasn't a battery, because what are the odds of that happening? It was the Sith person who was making the lightsabers go out. Yeah. I think if you go back and watch that 500 times, maybe. But I think because it was 2, and I'm like, I've never seen that before.
Yeah. But I mean, it looks like Darth Maul would have done that in his battle with Obi-Wan Kenobi, which was my favorite lightsaber battle, and probably still is. It's anyway. Carry on.
But let's turn. I'm going to turn into that person. Maybe Darth Maul would have done it. However, these lightsabers that we see in the Acolyte are 100 years younger than the lightsabers in the Phantom Menace. So maybe they've done a software update and that crap doesn't happen anymore, because it's possible. It's possible. It could be. They might be like, you know what, that was bad because these things broke down. So we need to get the little techies. Get the organic mechanics on the thing to fix them. So maybe.
Another thing, and I really was trying not to be such a jaded Jedi watching it, but when who was it? It was May, when
Yeah.
her lightsaber got cut in half or whatever, right? And
Mm.
then so she's holding it, and everything's quiet. She drops it into the red sand, and it sizzles. And I was like, wait a minute, is the red sand eating it? I don't understand. There was like this missing sound effect. And again, it sounds like I'm a hater. I'm much more just kind of zero across the board towards it.
Yeah.
But it was just, I don't know. And then when May and Osha are staring at each other, right? And it's dark. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden, blink, the sun's up. Wow, man, they've been staring at each other for a long time. Even if the dynamics of the sun rising are faster than what we have on Earth, which I think they showed when they were um, somewhere along the way. I think they showed that the sun comes up faster. But I don't know, man. Um, I don't know. Another little droid to sell little droids, and then
I'm
like
not.
you
Who's
posted,
gonna buy one of those though? I mean,
oh,
it's like, what is that? It's like a, I don't know. I don't know what it looks like, but it's
right.
not an
Well,
attractive
and
looking droid.
the stranger, as they call him,
Yeah.
his
Have we
helmet.
have we seen him before? Because he came on screen, and I'm like, I don't even know if I've seen him before. And I think I mentioned in the video, I'm
Yeah,
like, and I don't really care whether I've seen him before, but I don't know.
he
Is he
was the
somebody
guy
we've
who was.
met?
Yeah, he was the guy who was in the store who was working with OSHA.
Oh, was that him?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he was the same one that OSHA hung upside down, and he was like,
Oh,
"You're
was
gonna
that him?
piss the
Yeah,
master off." Yeah,
that's how much I
yeah,
was clearly paying attention to that. I'm just looking at it going, we've probably met him before, but I can't remember. My personal favorite is when Saul's about to cut his head off, going, you
yeah,
just killed however many of my Jedi friends.
right,
I'm going to
yeah,
kill you. So then
right,
I think, is it Osha that's like, no, don't do that. Don't kill
yeah,
him. Don't kill him.
right,
Let
yeah,
me throw a droid on his back so that these
right,
bat things take him up and they can kill him.
right,
What's the
right,
difference?
right,
But it's still somebody's still
because
killing, and then he doesn't die because of the
right,
bats anyway. So let Saul chop his head
yeah,
off, and then all would be well, and
yep.
we could
Although
start
I mean,
watching the
like,
bear or something.
right, which we have a new season coming
Yeah,
out.
we do.
Yeah,
It's drop
which
today.
oh, did it really? Awesome, man. Well, we'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
I mean, I did like the fact that they were using lightsabers in such a way where, it's like I'm holding it up to your chest and I'm gonna turn it on, and then
yeah,
it'll go
and
through
like
you.
to the head. So
Right. That was a
yeah,
good threat, man. Good threat.
yeah,
But I think another thing that bothered me. Have you seen Dark Matter on Apple TV Plus? I never
no.
know exactly what all to call it because some of these are just so wordy. But Dark Matter is the multiverse,
Oh no, I
and
hate the
yeah,
multiverse.
and so you're going into this box, kind of like Schrodinger's cat, and you can choose which world you want to exit the box into, right? So anyway, that's so um, at one point, this guy is fighting multiple versions of himself. And it's very fluid. You were comparing the Acolyte to the House of Dragons, which is beautifully colored
Really, and
and
cheaper.
and cheaper and
Yeah.
looks better. And the actors are all spot on, man. I mean, like there
Hmm.
is not an actor in the group where you go, man, you sucked. How did you get that role? You're connected to a producer somewhere. Um, and same thing with Dark Matter. But Jennifer Connelly, I can't remember the dude's name, but you've seen him in a bunch of stuff before. But I mean, everybody, top notch, top tier acting. But when he's fighting himself, it's obviously well choreographed, and they have doubles in and all. And so I mean, it's very fluid. He can flip himself over and pull a knife out, try to stab himself in the eye, and it just cuts back and forth beautifully. I think another problem I had with the Acolyte was it's like, okay, we have one actress and she's going to fight herself. So it was very much like the old Batman from the 60s, where it's like,
Hmm.
"Ah, yeah. And then, oh, okay, I'm back up. I just felt so ham fisted. And again, I mean, like I was already outdone with the show when I watched the last episode. So that's not helping me at all. But with big changes in what George Lucas set as canon. Does this, I mean, like, is Disney just wanting to have a multiverse like in Marvel? Although Deadpool's supposed to kill it, is it now? There's the George Lucas timeline, and now we have another one, which will probably be helmed by J.J. Abrams because he did this to Star Trek.
Yeah.
But I mean, for what reason? Because then anything that Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau put their name on, and I mean like they are actively involved, dude, I'm gonna watch. Anything with the other team, I've lost interest. And it's frustrating to me because Star Wars has meant so much to me, obviously,
Yeah.
over the years. And I don't think we're alone. And I had no idea. This is a side note. Like the people who love Planet of the Apes, the original Planet of the Apes, and they dress up in cosplay. I've never seen this in the Charlotte area, but evidently
No, I've
it's
never
huge
seen
in
it in
other
the UK.
places.
I've never seen it in the UK area either. So
Yeah, but I mean, they're out there, and it means just as much to them. So I'd be very interested if you ever talk to somebody on your podcast who is an avid Planet of the Apes fan, what they thought when they were all digital. Because that means that they can't cosplay these dudes. They could cosplay the original.
yeah.
And Dick Smith did a great job with the makeup and everything. And it was top of the day. But, I mean, like, am I alone being so passionate about Star Wars and the sacrilege that I'm seeing on the screen weekly? Because I agree with you. I mean, like, if it were just dropped like Netflix does, like you've got the whole season, all 6 episodes. They did it with Echo, and Echo was phenomenal. I liked it anyway. I thought it stayed true to who she was. Kingpin, I thought the whole thing was really cool. But this whole The Acolyte, man, it's really gotten under my skin, as you can tell, man. Because usually
I don't think they should drop every show in a one-er. I tend to enjoy shows when I've got to wait. House of the Dragon, I'm fine waiting a week.
Right.
But these stupid 27, 28-minute episodes that the Marvel shows, I believe, do. I tapped out of the Marvel stuff quite a while ago. The Star Wars ones, it's like, I was enjoying episode 5, and I'm like, this is actually better than the first. Oh, it's finished. Now I've got to wait a whole week for another 27 minutes. Because the thing is, it's like, and the feedback, and this is where you drop one or you do it weekly or whatever. You need to have people who watch it and go, yeah, this needs to go on in one, so that everybody can watch it all in a weekend. Everybody can complain about it for a week, and then we're done with it. Yeah. Because all I've heard for the past, and I think what makes me laugh is a lot of people who really lay into the Acolyte with the whole, there's lesbians in it, this is outrageous. Those crazy people are like, there's a non-white woman in it. Oh my God, they're out there. These people, they're absolute lunatics.
Right. I agree.
They still watch it. And that's what I don't understand. I mean, I get that you're not a fan of it, but if you really hated it, you tap out. You go, you know what? I'm going to go watch something else. I think.
I mean, if the Acolyte did what Sense8 did, because I remember watching the first few episodes, and when the wet dildo hit the floor, and Michelle and I looked at each other like, did we just see the same thing? It was so. I mean, like the moms caressing each other's cheek or whatever, man. I mean, like, I don't. That's not going to stop me from watching it, and. No. It seems like somewhere before we even hit that episode, May says something about, well, my mom's, and then whatever. So it's not like that wasn't, foreshadowed in advance, right? But yet, like you say, these people keep on watching it. And I never watched something to just hate on it. And hopefully I'm coming from a Star Wars purist, prude kind of whatever. Because you're hurting a franchise that and maybe it needs to just fizzle out. You know what I mean? Maybe Star Wars has run its course. Maybe it's the end of the toothpaste.
How would you fix it? So they come to you, John, and they go, do you know what? Star Wars is a little bit rough at the minute. We want you to fix Star Wars.
there are a bunch of people I would fire, and then I would make sure that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau were in charge, man, and just everything had to have their approval. I don't know if you've seen the clip of George Lucas saying that he is sorry that he sold his children off to Disney.
I'm sure
Because
he's not though, because and it's kind of like it's being retro, whatever they call it, with the George Lucas. Somebody's like,
right.
oh, the prequels were really good. It's like before this Disney thing, everybody was saying the prequels sucked. I like most of the prequels. I own them all. But they're all like, oh, give it back to George. But when George had it, you hated it. Why?
Right.
Just so it's, I think people are rewriting history.
I think in their minds they are, man. It's almost like if you write a script and you present it to a studio and it's like Deadpool or Kick-Ass, right? You want to have some scene in there that is so outrageous you don't even want it to stay, so that as they're reading it, the outrageous stuff that they would normally circle in red, that, you know, you can't have a 6-year-old say the C word, no, right? But you put something in there that is so atrocious, kind of like, was it Black Mirror? I can't remember the name of the show, but it was a British thing where the dude who was he the PM, and they made him have sex with a pig?
Yeah, it was episode 1. Yeah.
So you have that in there so that they say, whoa, that's got to go, but everything else can stay. So I think that's the same thing. These people, and I don't want to say Kathleen Kennedy, because who knows? I mean, she has been a part of a lot of Lucas and Spielberg stuff that was good. So, but when it comes down to, now I've lost my train of thought. Dang, all because I was being kind and I didn't want to call Kathleen Kennedy out.
I think it all stems from Bob Chapek, who was the runner of Disney. You know, Iger's back now, but these shows that are on now, including The Acolyte, they were Bob Chapek shows, and he seemed to be the sort going, do them fast, get them out the door. We just want to fill Disney Plus up with as much content as possible. And I think that's where some of these are coming from, because partly The Acolyte's been in development for like 5 years.
That wouldn't surprise me.
So now that Iger's back, I think in a couple of years' time, we'll start getting decent, you know, we're going to get less Marvel, hopefully less Star Wars TV shows, just put it back in the cinema.
That would be nice, man. And have them to where because I remember going to see, was it episode 7 in the movie theater? And I was like, wow, finally, my kids who missed, who has never seen a Star Wars movie in the movie theater, now they can see it. And overall, it was okay. I mean, it was what it was. But then episode 8 came out, and that's what kept me from going to see episode 9 in the theater.
Right. Did you not watch Rise of Skywalker in the theaters?
No. Or you know what? Maybe I did. That's where is that the one where Luke dies and he's sitting on a rock? He's some sort of like, but he's not like.
No, that's Last Jedi, isn't it? That one where he
maybe
clunks.
I don't know, man. They
Rise of Skywalker's the Palpatine one, isn't it? So
maybe, yeah, the one where they were tag teaming and dropping lightsabers in each other's hands as they were back to back, and I mean, like, it was what it was. I agree with some of the jokes about, J.J. Abrams doesn't really. It's not old school film writing at times, and I like what he did with Star Trek. And some people hate me for that, and that's fine. But when it's just like, oh yeah, Palpatine's alive. How? Who gives a shit? We're moving forward. Keep on going. Don't question me. Then that's anyway. So I guess that's I could go on, but I think that's about sums it up. So I was watching a video the other day on YouTube, and it was talking about AI and music, and how just as the actors are worried about their the scans of themselves would be used in a movie without their consent. Now we have AI for musicians, singers, everything, so that you can just kind of let AI write a melody and then say, okay, I want Van Halen on guitar. I want Doug Pinnick on bass. I want somebody from the past on drums, and you put it all together, and it's original enough that you can sell it. Or the audio streamers won't flag you. It's like, oh, okay, we can make money off of this, and we don't have to pay the original artist.
It's insane, isn't it? It's it's insane. But I'm doing another podcast on Saturday, so a couple of days from now, with a guy called Chris, he's a musician. So he records under the name Enerex. He's done. I've mentioned him on the podcast. So I'm finally going to do a podcast with Chris, because he'd left a comment on one of my YouTube videos, and he said a good topic for you would be to talk about physical media. And I'm like, so I emailed him and said, well, why don't we do it? And so a lot of the topic that he and I are probably going to cover will include music, because he's a musician. And when was the last time you went out and bought a CD? I don't buy CDs as much as I used to.
Nope. And sadly, iTunes makes it so easy for someone to say, hey, did you hear the soundtrack from whatever? And then you go over there and you just click, and it scans your face, and then it doesn't download immediately like it used to. It's like the next day it'll be downloaded to your phone, as though it's, needs to go through a conveyor belt. But yeah, I mean, I don't remember. I think the last CD that I bought was the score to Guardians of the Galaxy, as far as physical media. Okay. So that's 2014, man. Good Lord, 10 years ago. It's a decade. So,
and I know people that don't even buy Blu-rays or DVDs anymore. They don't even have players in their house.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah,
I do. The last Blu-ray I bought was Dune Part 2. I haven't watched 1 and 2 yet, but I own them, so I do still buy discs when I can.
Very satisfying. So I think you'll enjoy those.
Good. But yeah, the AI and music thing, it's going to happen, isn't it? And unfortunately, the way that I was getting with people not buying stuff is the majority of the people who listen to music or watch films, they're like, I don't want to pay for it. I don't want to pay to listen to it.
Right.
Why would I? It's insane. When you put a post in on Facebook saying, I just watched Furiosa, for example, they'll be like, where's it streaming? That's usually the first question they ask.
Right.
Where's it streaming so I can watch it for free?
Right.
It's insane.
Yep. And that's when you play your podcasting card. It's like, well, for me, they sent me a link. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Do you know what? You don't even get as many of those now as they used to.
Well, as soon as there's so many people, which I've never been one to be able to do this, but I know that Rod and Karen on the Black Guy Who Tips would watch a movie and tweet all the way through it. And I admire that they have that perseverance, and that's what their audience wants. But man, I mean, like, I want to experience the movie, and then I'll make some comments, or I'll talk to you or Jake or
I don't check my phone while I'm watching a film anyway, unless I've seen the film before. It's a rewatch. Right. I'll be like, I'll just see what's going on, see how my YouTube channel isn't doing, that sort of thing. But no, I don't. Annette does. She's always like, oh, what's that person been in before? I need to look at. No, I don't care. Find out with the films. Nope, she has to know there and then.
And it would be nice if all the devices would talk to each other, because it's like on Amazon Prime, you pause it, and whoever's on screen, it's going to tell you who they are, and then you can click on that, and because they own IMDb, you'll get the whole workup, right? But it would be nice to be able to just pull up your iPad and go, oh yeah, that person, and then boom, you see, because the girl from The Acolyte, the Padawan, oh my gosh, she was in oh my gosh, it's on HBO, which is now Max. His dark, oh my gosh, man.
His Dark Materials?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Yeah.
But she looks so familiar, but yet, with the horns and the face makeup.
I can't tell.
Yeah. But she has such a distinct way of speaking. I knew her. So, yeah.
But we've got 3 more Acolytes left, which is probably totaling about an hour and 20 minutes.
Way. I thought there was just 6.
Oh, you wish there was just 6. No, There's eight episodes, all for the grand total of $180 million, included, and this will blow your mind, $49.3 million of development costs. Where'd that go? Where has $180 million gone?
Dude, there's people sitting around the table going, hey, it'd be cool if one of those lightsabers malfunctioned and you have to bang it like we did our flashlights back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. So, but yeah,
$180 million.
Yeah, I don't see where it's gone. I mean, you look at House of Dragon and you see, right? I mean, like, it is huge. And I've got to admit, it is tough to keep up with who is married to who, who has whose child, because there's so much inbreeding. I watched this one video before we started the show. We're into season 2. We did see season 1, but I was getting confused. It's like there's so many white-headed kids running around. Who does that kid belong to? And if you've ever seen the video showing the family tree that doesn't branch, and then it just kind of cycles back. It's like, oh, well, yeah, this baby belongs to the mother's dad's. What? And I mean, like, anyway, at that point, I told Michelle, I don't even care. I'm just going to watch it. And I'm not going to remember everybody's names, but yet,
I was like that with Game of Thrones, to be honest. It was a case of, I know who Tyrion is, I know who Jon Snow is. There was about 6 characters. I'm like, okay, I now know where I am. The rest of them, I'm like, and who's that? Have we met that person before?
Right.
Oh, they've been in every episode. Right, okay, I don't remember them. And yeah, House of the Dragon, which cost $130 million.
Wow.
Compared to the Acolytes, 180. Which one looks more expensive? It ain't the Acolyte.
Yeah. I don't understand. And, not to mention, the lightsabers don't even have to be inserted in. There's no motion tracking or anything. It's just a blade. It's a luminescent blade. I mean, it's just like what we can buy, from Disney at a overpriced, but yet, so, and then you don't have to, depending on what color, it casts that light. So, yeah, I mean, like, I don't see where the money went. But going back to Game of Thrones, I remember at one point I was really, really trying to remember everybody's names, and then they would just randomly get killed. And I had applied that trying to remember somebody's name, and now they're dead. So
it's no point remembering anybody, because they're probably not going to be around in 2 episodes.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying House of the Dragon. I think it's very, very good. I'm happy week to week. It's an hour-long episode compared to the Acolyte's half-an-hour episode. And Acolyte costs more. I don't understand it. It makes no sense.
And you are correct in that, by the time, and I love the short intros. I mean, like where it says you can skip the intro, which lasts maybe 15 seconds. I mean, like, it's on par with Lost, where it's like leading up, Lost, and then right on into the show, or a commercial break, as it were, when it was broadcast. But yeah, man, I love that. I don't want to see Star Trek has the longest intros. I mean, and I get it. You paid a lot, you want to showcase it, but I'm always skipping that. But all the Star Wars stuff is, just had very short intros, and it's mainly just the logo, and then you're right on, which is so that's good. But let's see here. So I did see something. Are you familiar with The Boys on Prime?
I'm familiar with it. I've never watched it. People go, "Oh, it's amazing." It's like, is it just superheroes that swear and there's dicks exploding? In some ways, yes. It's like, I don't know if I want to devote that much more time with superheroes. I'm kind of choosy now. It's like,
I don't blame you, man. And you remember when Watchmen came out, and people are like going, "Wow, man, that was raw. That was what superheroes would be like in real life." Well, if you go even further by like 100 miles or more, you get The Boys. And I thought season 1 was pretty good, but it's like every season they want to push the limits in some way, and so anyway, but I have been keeping up with that, but it's something that I'll have on while I'm doing something else. It's not like it's needs the firm watch. But anyway, the Young Rock Stars, or New Rock Stars, I can't remember. But anyway, evidently there's somebody on YouTube and on the social media. But anyway, they had these 4 images and they said, who is the best bad guy of all time? So you have Darth Vader. I'd show you, but anyway.
Ooh,
yeah, and I'll send it to you. You can just
Yeah.
have that graphic pop up. Anyway, so you have Darth Vader, the Joker from the Christian Bale movie.
Mhm.
You have Homelander, and then, oh my gosh, man, I'm having this huge brain fart. I keep having these today, but it's from the Avengers.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Josh Brolin played him. Thanos. Yep.
Thanos. Thank
There
you.
we go. I couldn't
I'm
remember
glad
either.
I'm
I'm
not the
like,
only
oh
one
no.
who, yeah. So you'll cut those out. But anyway,
Yeah.
when you look at it, I mean, Anakin had a backstory. You saw Anakin go from a child to someone who was conflicted, and then burning on the beach, and then became Darth Vader. I mean, it kind of makes sense. And the same thing with Thanos. He started out with, I'm trying to save the galaxy by eliminating half the populace, so there's no more famine. Okay, the Joker admittedly said that, in his speech to Two-Face, he said he's always chasing cars and he wouldn't know what to do with the car if he caught it or whatever. And Homelander is the worst, man, because there is no rhyme or reason. He just hates and destroys. So anyway, I didn't know if you had an opinion on who the best bad guy was out of all those.
If it wasn't for the prequels, I would say
Yeah.
Vader.
Yeah.
Because Vader had a mysterious. Vader was like, you remember Star Wars as a kid? We were like, Vader is a villain. Now we look at him and go, little pod racer, grew up and hates, doesn't like sand anymore and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
So I think they've lost a lot of the evil mythos around Vader. So I would probably take Vader out because of the prequels, which were fine. I'd probably go Heath Ledger, I think, because I haven't seen The Boys, so I can't compare Homelander to the Joker. But we don't really know why the Heath Ledger Joker's crazy. We just know that he is. Don't leave a pencil lying around because he'll murder somebody with it. But
yep, that makes me want to go back and watch that movie again. Just that scene alone. That was And then hey, I've got nothing but grenades, and I'll blow myself up with everybody else. That was very cool. So what have you been watching, man? When I was looking at my list, because as we watch TV and movies, I have a Stuart list so that whenever we podcast, then I'm ready, right? Yeah. And anyway, dude, it is so long. I actually went through and made bold the titles that I thought were sensational, and regular type non-bold for they were good. And then for TV shows like The Acolyte, they're in italic. So that way we don't even have to talk about anything that, that wasn't stellar, if you would like. I don't know, man. But have you seen The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare?
I am a couple of Guy Ritchie films behind with Mr. Ritchie, so I haven't seen that one, and whatever the previous one was, I can't remember. I saw the last Guy Ritchie film I saw was A Covenant, which was amazing. Really like that film. And excellent. I haven't seen a Gentleman TV series. Because I don't have Netflix. And The Ministry I haven't seen. Argyle is Matthew Vaughn, isn't it? I got about 10 minutes into that. I'm like, I'm out. I can't. I hated it. I can't say it's a terrible film, but I'm like, no, I'm either not in the mood for this, or I think when the car was going down the stair rails, I'm like, I'm out. No, I can't do it.
Was it the motorcycle coming by and
possibly it's
Batista's character picking her off and
bonkers.
It's in. If you make it to the final act, at some point, it all makes sense, and you're like, oh, I get it. I don't want to see this again, but I get it.
Okay.
Yeah. But Matthew Vaughn is, I think when he does his, like Kingsman, when he deals with his own IP, he excels. But then I think about that first X-Men reboot, whatever it's called, X-Men Academy.
Yep.
First class. Thank you. I was close, man.
No, you weren't really. You got the X-Men part right, but
I give myself 55%.
Yeah.
There. Academy. And but yeah, man, I mean, like, it was I didn't feel like it was, maybe I set my expectations too high with Kick-Ass and Kingsman
Mm.
and stuff. But I just felt a little let down by it all. I felt like there was too much that the producers or the studio said, let's trim it up for time. And instead of doing like James Cameron was able to do with Terminator 2, where a bunch of stuff was left on the floor, but we didn't know it until the next edition came out, the super duper edition and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to Ungentlemanly Warfare, I enjoyed it, and that was kind of nice for a movie to be so strategically. And I'm sure Guy Ritchie did this, right? But I mean, it's like I'm a big Guy Ritchie fan. Michelle loves World War II, so it's the best of both worlds, and we both enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And Alan Ritchson is hilarious in it.
He's good. I mean, I've seen him on interviews, and he just seems like the nicest guy. He's so humble. It's like, I'm not a movie star. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
He looks huge and overbearing, but he's just like the most chilled out guy you've ever seen. He was on a podcast episode with Bill Maher where he just sat down and just chatted with him for like an hour and a half. And it was just like, whether you like Bill Maher or not is a different thing. I do, but a lot of people don't. But Alan Ritchson just came off as like a charming, nice person that you just want to hang out with and be friends and have him there if somebody tried to beat you up. So that sort of thing.
Because when he puts on that Reacher persona, man, you're very safe.
So. I watched Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. I watched that last night, which I did enjoy. I think. Have you watched it yet?
No, I'm waiting to find that streaming network that will allow me to watch it.
Yep. It is quite expensive at the minute. You got to rent it, but I really wanted to watch it anyway, so it will jump onto streaming at some point soon. I would say when you go into it, don't compare it to Fury Road. It's a different film. It fits within the same world and it works,
right?
But it's not 2 hours of car chases and mayhem. You do get that in it, but it's not like Fury Road was, where it's like opening credits and we're off. Closing credits, go home. It's more dramatic than that, but it is a good film.
Cool. I was hoping for it. I mean, to learn more about Furiosa, and then whatever the Hemsworth character is.
Dementus.
Yeah.
It does tie in with Mad Max Fury Road quite well as keep your eyes open. You'll be like, oh, that's quite cool. So it's well done. Some of the CGI in places, but whatever. Doesn't ruin a film for me.
Right. Well, I mean, if you are down to enjoy it regardless, then because it's not Masters of the Air. I watched the show reel where I can't remember the company that did all the special effects, but I was amazed that more wasn't in camera. I mean, like, I knew some stuff had to be CG, but on the other hand, I mean, some of these bombers and stuff still fly, but I mean, it was just like, nope, we're going to be safe. We're just going to, but I mean, beautiful, beautiful work. But not everybody can afford that, like, Spielberg. So, not to mention that's a franchise where I think, the masses believe in it. So they know they're going to recoup their money. However, they do that through streaming services. So.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand how Disney Plus are going to make $180 million back on the Acolyte.
Right.
They're not. There's no way. It's impossible. I don't quite understand why they can justify spending that amount of money on. I mean, I went on that video. It went through the budgets of the Star Wars shows, and I think there was only Obi-Wan that was less than 100 million. And there's probably about six shows in there, and you're like, how Disney must be hemorrhaging money.
Right.
I got an offer. I've just signed back up for Disney Plus.
Oh, yeah.
Because I dropped it for a little while. I'll be watching somebody else's. That's how I've been watching Acolyte. And so I got an email through from Disney going, hey, if you restart your subscription, it's £2.49 for the next 3 months. So I'm like,
deal, man.
I'll hold some of that. Right. And then I got another one through for Paramount Plus going next 3 months, £2.31.
Wow,
offer ends on the 9th of July. So on the 8th of July, I'll be signing up for 3 months of Paramount. And then the Disney one will lapse. So I happily drop most streamers.
Yeah.
I switched my smart TV on downstairs this evening. It was like, would you like 3 months of Apple for nothing? I'm like, let me just find out the email address I've not used for the free trials yet.
Right.
This will be the 4th 3-month free trial I've had of Apple.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's good, man.
So I'm just, I have a spreadsheet to organize all these free trials and special offers because
It's good.
it's got to be done. It's got to be done.
But and I'm not trying to sell people on streaming networks at all, but it's like, back when Game of Thrones, came out, I guess it was season 3 by the time that Michelle and I found it, and a fellow editor at work had passed me season 1. He said, just check it out. And Michelle and I watched it, and it was like, wow, this is amazing. So he said, oh, well, I have season 2. Check it out. And then I think, you know what, I take that back. I think it was season 4 had just finished airing. And so then he let us borrow season 3, and then I bought season 4, and they're not cheap. And then I was doing the math. It's like, dude, I could have HBO Max, which is now Max, of course, for X amount per month and watch the whole thing and be ready for the next. And I think Max is not necessarily the best bang for your buck, but every time I'm going to cancel it, every time, boom, something else comes out, like House of Dragons. And so, yeah.
But it's like, I remember buying all these HBO box sets back in the day when it was Sopranos, 6 Feet Under. I was paying maybe $40 or whatever per season.
Yeah.
But then I owned them.
Right.
And it was like, and I was really happy. I've still got a shelf in the other room with all the physical media and stuff on, not all of it, but my top 200 films. And it's at the top of the staircase. So when I'm walking up the stairs at night going, what am I going to watch? Oh, Lost Boys. Doink.
Right.
In it goes. I don't have to think, right, what platform's that on? And I do own the discs. So nowadays you can get physical media quite cheap. But back in the day, the HBO stuff was pretty expensive.
Yeah, because it was always a box set, and it was always very elaborate the way it would open up and fold out and stuff. And it's the same thing with the original Gears of War trilogy. I got the box set for each one of those, and it wasn't cheap. But yet I couldn't wait until midnight when GameStop would actually be able to pass them off, even though I'd already paid for them. And I would come back home, and my son and I would open the box. It was like Christmas, no matter what time of year it was. And I guess they still have things similar to that for video games, but I mean, everything's a download. Here's the latest game. You can download it and play it and whatever, and it's instant. And I think one of the problems with the physical media with games was that back in the day, they had to get their stuff straight. They had to make sure that the game worked before they printed them or whatever you want to press them. And now it's just like they can be half-assed, like Microsoft
or the Acolyte. They will just patch it.
Right. Exactly, man.
but also, I think I was chatting with Stu Miller on a podcast recently as well, and going through my top 200 films. It's like I'm enjoying watching The Lost Boys, and I rewatched Scarface last week as well. I'm like, I've not seen that in a while. Why have I not seen that in a while? I used to watch that film once a month.
Right.
With the most favorite films that you've got, how often do you rewatch them? I don't think you watch them as often as you used to, because there's too much damn content to try and keep up with.
It really is, man. And you're looking forward to seeing whatever's new. And so there have been times where I forget, there was one movie that Michelle wanted to watch the original Bad Boys, which I'm always down with. I mean, I enjoy that. And I was trying to remember was it Tia something? What was her name?
Tia Leone. Yep.
There you go, man. Yeah. So I just always thought her smoker voice was very sexy and great legs. So anyway, but that's not why I watch it now. I enjoy the interaction between the two main characters. You know what I mean? And Bad Boys 2 is probably my favorite, even though it started to go over the top. But yet, the action sequences where the camera is moving around. I even saw some of the behind the scenes stuff on that where Will Smith is going in and he has his gun and he flips the camera around to get him, and then he flips the camera back around to get his gun. Phenomenal stuff, man. And that was back when that was brand new and avant-garde. I think we rely too much on CG and the fixes in post, but to do that much in during production was amazing. But anyway, but I mean, yeah, man, there is so much. I forget what movie had just come out and I wanted to see it. But yeah, man, I mean, like we have too much. I think that's the same thing with movies when you and I were growing up. I mean, hey, there was one tentpole movie in the summer. Maybe there were two that were going to compete. But there was in the spring and in the fall seemed like those were mainly romantic movies, and then maybe there was a holiday movie. But a few dozen was all we were going to get, and we couldn't watch half of them because they didn't come to this small town. I don't know, about where you grew up, but I mean, and now you can stream. It's like Michelle and Vanell were talking about what is it? Beverly Hills Cop 3 or 4, whatever it is now. And they were planning on going to see it at the movies. And I said, well, that's going to be on Netflix. You don't even have to leave the house.
Yeah. That's crazy, isn't it?
To watch it, but yeah.
Isn't that crazy that the Beverly Hills Cop 4 is just going to be a TV movie?
Right. But I mean, at what point? Because, that used to be a big knock, almost like evidently was a big knock. But, it's like, oh no, I'm in movies, not on TV, because that was like a movie of the week or whatever. And it was always lesser value and was rarely shot on film. So everything looked kind of CBS-like. I mean, it just wasn't high quality. But now, I mean, with cameras like we have now, I mean, like it looks like film, and you shot it on a fraction of the budget. You are editing during production to make sure you meet whatever deadline. I mean, it's an incredible age in which we live, but there is so much content that I do feel like, it's like I was saying, I'm probably gonna, within the next 2 weeks, I'm probably gonna watch that Chris Nolan Batman with the Joker, the Batman 2, whatever it was called. Because everything was the Dark Knight, either Rising or whatever. But I mean, it's gonna have to fit in where I can, because there's just so much new content. And I think used to, as we were waiting on that next movie to come out, we would pull a DVD or a Blu-ray off the shelf and watch it. Yeah.
Why do people feel the need to try and watch everything? Is it so they can join in the conversation on social media? Probably it is a case of that.
Yeah.
Because we're never going to watch everything. Yeah. We're never going to get to the point where we're like, whew, I caught up, platinum, achievement unlocked. Never, it's never ever going to happen.
Right.
But we kind of chase it as if we are going to catch up.
Right. It's kind of like I beat yoga. Yes. You know what I mean?
So I've completed the internet. Woohoo.
Right. I that's probably a part of it. And then the other part is YouTube. I think YouTube has taught us sample and move on. If you don't like it, move on. There's always something else. And so I think that is shortened attention spans. I mean, it's shortened mine. I remember watching Terminator 2 and I thought, wow, this moves like a freight train. Now when we watch it, it's still an awesome movie, but there are movies that move far faster, And
I think that with Star Wars, the original one.
Yeah.
I'm always curious. It's like, just find a child. I'll just go out and just randomly find a child and sit them down and make them watch A New Hope. Because not a lot happens in that film, really.
No.
If you think about it, it's like the one lightsaber fight. There's a space battle in the last 10 minutes or whatever.
Right.
And we love it. But if that film came out nowadays, would it do well, or would the internet bury it? I think the internet would probably bury it.
Probably, man. And you look at the lightsaber battle, and granted, we'd never seen anything like that. And the way they did the lightsabers was really, I mean, that was just smart effects. And but yet it was just very simple. I mean, they never did any of the Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul moves. It was just much more. I mean, like, we saw more action in Shogun the series. I don't know if you caught that.
I haven't seen that, but that's a Disney one over here, so I may be able to check that out. So
yeah, excellent. Michelle and I watched it, and sometimes I'm just not in the mood for subtitles. And I really wish that I could speak Japanese so I could have just watched it and been immersed versus having to read everything. But yeah, very good and worth reading the subtitles.
Mm.
Yeah.
But it's the whole rewatching favorite films is something that I've been doing this year. I've rewatched all the Mad Max films, so I've seen all those. Lethal Weapons, I've done those. Lost Boys, St. Elmo's Fire, I watched probably about a month ago, and then watched Bratz, which is like, hey, St. Elmo's Fire.
Right.
But it's
So you watched St. Elmo's Fire before you saw Bratz.
Yeah, I watched that.
Man,
I watched that before I even knew that Bratz was a thing. I only saw the trailer for Bratz maybe like a month and a half ago. I'm like, I love all the Brat Pack stuff. Really do.
Yeah. Well, and just the care of the framing and the lenses shooting on film. And granted, that was a different era, but just beautifully shot. I remember everything from, or so much of that era, as long as it wasn't horror, was just so beautiful and sexy,
Yeah. Glamorous, wasn't it? It's like, I want to live in that. I want to go for a drink in St. Elmo's Fire.
Yeah. I want to go back to college. So,
So did Rob Lowe in that movie, but I have watched a film which, these people that complain that there's no original films anymore and they're all sequels and remakes. If Ryan Reynolds. Have you watched that one?
No, is it funny?
Oh, it's everything.
Yeah.
It is. When you watch a film and you go, it was funny, it made me happy, it made me sad, it was original, it was well acted. Everything about that film was just like, this is why I watch movies, for movies like this. It's really, really good.
Well, that is awesome, because from the trailer I saw, it didn't really draw me. So I'm glad that you watched it and recommended it, because sometimes that's what we need. Watching Monkey Man, which was just John Wick in India. Oh my gosh, man, dude. Good. Brutal, very violent, but very stylized. I enjoyed it. But Michelle, we got to the end, and I had told her time and time again, as we were leading up to watching the movie, I said, we don't have to watch this. I watch it on my own. And she was like, no, you've been watching a lot of stuff for me. The documentaries on World War II, blah, blah, blah. And so we got to the end, and she said, yeah, it was way too violent. You know what I mean? I tried to tell you, this is John Wick in India. But anyway, there are some very cool things that happen in Monkey Man. So whenever you see it, let's talk about it.
Is it English language or subtitled, or is it a mix?
It is for the most part, it's all in English. Okay. There were, I think, at some lesser points, where he's walking to a restaurant or whatever, and they certainly, have whatever native languages are going on just for authenticity. But for the most part, it's all in English. And, ultimately, the good guy wins. But Michelle was like, no, that was too violent. There should have been an alternate way to. No, there is no alternate way.
The only alternate way is not to watch it. That's the only
right.
alternate way.
That's right.
But I would highly recommend If.
Okay.
It's got the best use of a Tina Turner song that I've seen since Mad Max Thunderdome, to be fair, with the whole couple of Tina Turner songs in there. But just a charming, nice film. So I would definitely check that out.
I will even pay to rent it, and that may be good for this weekend, because sometimes you're just in the mood to laugh and watch a feel-good movie. Especially since there's no more Ted Lassos, you know what I mean? Because those were amazing.
Do you think that'll come back? I know they say it's done, but
I mean, like Life of Beard. I mean, like, if there's a spinoff, okay, but I don't know, man. I mean, I agree with whatever his name is, Ted Lasso, the actor who was also the showrunner. I mean, like, he was on a mission to tell a 3-season story arc, and he achieved it. And so I think now we have the bear as the newer Ted Lasso, where there's a lot of anger and profanity and throwing food and knives, but yet He sees the best in everybody. So
what's the day? I've remembered the answer to the question, but the thing that makes me wonder whether Ted Lasso is coming back is they've released the series on physical media, so you can buy it on disc now. But rather than it being called Ted Lasso the complete series, it's called Ted Lasso the Richmond Way. That's its full name.
Wow.
Which is making people think maybe there's something else coming down the pipeline, because otherwise, wouldn't they have called it complete series 1 to 3 or whatever? They've called it something different.
Maybe, but when was it the book that the newspaper guy wrote? Wasn't that titled The Richmond Way? I can't remember. Somewhere in there.
Yeah, I like that
they
character.
Mentioned it. Yeah. Oh, dude, everybody was, and Ted just genuinely admired everybody, even his enemies, and loved them back to being friends. I mean, like, dude, I mean, and even got Jamie to forgive his dad. Man, the guy was that show was amazing. I was trying to think, there's some new stuff on Apple that's really good.
There's a Colin Farrell TV show, isn't there, which people have been talking about. I've forgotten what it's called, but that's on there.
Yep, and we started that. I watched one episode, and I was so blown away by the purposeful visual storytelling that I told Michelle, and we were drinking wine after dinner that night, and I was just like, we can't watch any more. I need to be completely stone sober to really pay attention, because and I may get into the third episode and go, well, they don't care. This wasn't purposeful. It was happenstance. But what I saw was amazing. Just, I mean, like, really, really deep storytelling. Let's see here. What about Shrinking? Are they going to come back with another season of that?
I believe there is another series of that coming. And, you know, we talk about streaming platforms and cutting down on streaming platforms or having them. I think Apple doesn't produce the most TV shows, but everything it puts on there is like worth watching. From what I've seen, whether it's the morning show, whether it's Shrinking, whether it's Ted Lasso, Masters of the Air, the quality of stuff on there is really good.
Presumed Innocent is also very good so far.
That's on now. I think I'll be I'm going to be signing up for my 3 months free trial later on this evening, and I may start that.
Yeah, it's good. I don't really remember the movie that had Harrison Ford in it. And so Michelle remembers the movie and even read the book because she's an avid reader. So I'm watching it from a different point of view. So I can actually say, oh, maybe he is guilty. Maybe he's not guilty.
They may change it, though. They might change it. I would be shocked if they don't change it from the movie.
It would be smart. Yeah. But for me, I'm watching it through newbie eyes. I kind of vaguely remember Harrison Ford in it.
With his crew cut. It was the one when he had his like crew cut type hair, wasn't it? Not fully bald, but sort of, you know.
Dude, it merges with that other movie where it had what's the actress's name? Blonde, and she's in the Ant-Man franchise as the mom. I don't know why I'm spacing on her name. But anyway, she was in it. The Deep or the Pond or the Lake or something like that. And this was another movie that's 20 plus years old. Yeah,
they're very different movies, John. They're very different movies. Yeah.
Presumed Innocent has now merged. You know how know, like male merge? Well, I have brain merge at times, and so I'm completely clueless as far as Presumed Innocent. Who is the lead in that?
In Presumed Innocent, I only remember Harrison Ford.
Right.
I don't remember who. It might be like Ann Archer or something. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, no telling, man. No telling.
Have you seen the trailer for the new Robert Zemeckis film Here with Tom Hanks?
No.
Check that out.
Okay.
It's probably due out at some point this year. I'm not quite sure what the release date is, but it's Robert Zemeckis going, I'm going to play around in my weird, funky sandbox. the whole film is shot from one camera angle. So it's like having a camera in the corner of your room, and the whole film plays out with that, but over decades.
Wow. Okay.
And it looks like it's a camera just pointing at the same spot, because in this trailer, which is probably only about a minute and a half, you see Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, they get together and they're a couple and they grow old and all this sort of stuff. There's also dinosaurs in it. So it makes you think, does this thing span thousands of years? They've used technology to de-age Robin Wright and Tom Hanks to make them look like they're in the 1980s.
Right.
So it's
You've got mail or something, right?
Yeah. So it's Robert Zemeckis screwing around again, but it looks quite clever. I've never seen a film where it's like, we're just going to lock a camera off for the full duration of the movie, and we're going to have it set over decades. It's an odd one, but it's Tom Hanks, so I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's what was that movie where it was he and the robot? It was on Apple TV.
Oh yeah, I keep thinking Chappie, but it's not Chappie, but Finch. Is it Finch? It's called
Finch. Yeah, Finch.
Yeah.
And he just sounded so much like Woody. I mean, like everybody fell asleep. I watched the whole movie.
No.
I thought it had heart. Yeah. But I was looking around and it was like my daughter, my niece, then Michelle, and I'm just like, what in the world has happened? But I mean,
all fell asleep.
He did. Yeah, they were like, we've seen Toy Story. This isn't Toy Story.
No, this is very different.
Oh, man. Yeah. So what about Outer Range season 2?
I haven't even heard of Outer Range season 1.
Oh, it's on Amazon Prime.
Is it? Okay.
It has Brolin in it, and there's this big hole out in the back of his property, and we don't know what caused it per se. And he, at some point in season 1, he falls in and time travels, and goes into the future. But anyway, I enjoyed it. It's kind of crazy, and season 2 is even crazier. But that's right down my alley. That kind of science fiction. So
okay. How are you doing on the whole Yellowstone thing? Because you were plowing through those, weren't you? You finished them all?
Oh man, we stopped our world and saw every season, and now I think they're coming out with another season. Was it November? And this one isn't going to have Costner in it. Yeah. But I mean, they're fun characters, and it was interesting. The one son, I think his name is Casey, and he was a part of the remake of Magnificent Seven. And he was the brother of the redhead who went and got Denzel's character. And so we watched that about a month ago. And
good film.
On the rewatch, man, it was fun. I mean, like, don't expect too much, but it was fun.
Okay. So
noisy, man,
Oh, so I remember I went to the cinema to watch that with Bob, who I used to podcast with, and he sat there and he sat next to Annette. And because I very quickly learned, don't sit next to Bob when you're watching a film,
right?
Because he thinks he's watching documentaries.
Right.
So he's sitting there and he's watching it and he's huffing and puffing. He's like, and it was the scene where somebody's going crazy with like a Gatling gun and mowing people down, and Bob's like, and Annette looked at me. She went, I know why you sat me here. And I'm like, what's he complaining about? So she leaned over. She's like, what's wrong? And he went, that gun wouldn't have that many bullets in it.
And I'm
agree. Like, really? It's the Magnificent Seven. It's not a documentary.
Dude, I was more kind of amazed at the fact that Chris Pratt's character was on a horse. He got shot down. And then suddenly he's within, like, I don't know, 20 feet of the Gatling gun. And then he's walking up. They gun him down again. And then he says, cigarette. And then so they light him up. And then he just keels over, lights the dynamite, throws it. And it was almost like the Joker from Batman. It's like, hey, guess what? I'm crazy. And of course, I'm assuming he would have died, regardless. But yeah, man. But the dude who was the bad guy, I could have sworn he was right there next to the Gatling gun or close proximity. And he was like, oh, no, shoot him again. Oh, shoot him again. And then boom, man, he's in the town. He teleported in there.
Yeah.
And you have to, and that director, and
Antoine Fuqua.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Excellent director. And
Yeah.
so it must have been something that in post the studio said, "Oh, well, this
Too
is too
long.
long. We're going to
Yeah.
cut this out." Which really, I mean, like that hurts things. You
Yeah.
know, it's the um oh my gosh, I'll come back to that once my brain fart stops. Let's hear X-Men 97 on Disney. And it's the animated series, and it has the same voice cast as the one that was out in the 90s, and continues that story, and is really good, man. It sticks to the comics. Granted, Marvel is a multiverse, it always has been, but it, I mean, like, really cool stuff. And then some of the characters die, and it's just like, boom, we're just taking these out and moving on forward. So it was a lot more dramatic than I remember the original series being. And I thought I'd watch them all with my kids. But anyway, but it's, I mean, it was a fun watch. So
Okay.
that was in bold. And then if you haven't watched Hitman, that's on
No,
Netflix.
that is on my list to watch.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it
it's
yet, but
it's funny. Keep in mind, I think it was an indie. I think it had a very reasonable budget. I don't want to say low budget, but I mean, like,
Mhm.
don't think it's going to be Oppenheimer
Yeah.
with comedy. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, because there were anyway. But I enjoyed it. Michelle wanted to see it, so that was payback for Monkey Man, and I enjoyed it. So
Sometimes you've got to do that. You've got to do the whole payback thing. The worst payback thing that I've been doing is, which I've been enjoying it, it's just been such a long slog, is
yeah.
Annette said she wants to watch all the Pixar movies, like
Mm,
all of them. So we
yeah.
started it with the shorts and then Toy Story and so on.
Right.
We watched Lightyear last week.
Yeah.
That is not as bad as everybody made out. We were expecting a car crash of a movie. We're like, oh God, here we go. We've got all the way
Yeah.
through these Pixar movies, and there was maybe
Yep.
one or two that are like, it's good, but it's not up there. I
Right.
think Coco was one of those where we're like, it's quite good, but we weren't like blown away by it. And then we're like,
Right.
and now it's Lightyear, so close to
Yeah.
having a perfect run. And we watched it
Right.
and we were laughing and we're like, I quite enjoyed that film. So we've now
Yeah.
got Turning Red, which is the next one, which we've seen. And
Right.
then Elemental, which apparently is very good. And then obviously Inside Out 2
Yeah.
when it comes out later on. So
Yeah.
we've been, but that is a long commitment. So it's once a week we're watching a
Yeah.
Pixar movie to sort of change the palate taste on that. The next franchise we're going to be doing is Saw. So it's a little bit different because Annette's never she's only ever seen the first movie.
All right.
I've only seen the first like 4. So we're going
Right.
to binge through the Saw movies and you know. But then she
That
also
is,
she wants to do the Disney classics.
yeah.
And I said, I'm like, you can do, but you're on your own for that. I'm not.
All right.
I can't commit to like every single Tuesday for the next 5 years. Watching it.
Right.
No,
Right.
because I'm
Well,
like
you
this
could,
with animated stuff. I'm like,
yeah.
I
Well, that and
appreciate it, but it's too much stuff to
yeah.
watch.
And I mean the original stuff, and I still admire it. No
Mm,
knock against the animators, but it was all rotoscoped. So it was
yeah.
somebody dancing around. They did the sketches based upon the Snow White's character or the actress dancing around, and I mean that anyway. She's kind of annoying anyway, but yeah, it's not like when they do the squash and stretch technique and stuff like they kind of got into, which even Tangled being CG really utilized that. And
Mm,
but yeah, but that is a huge commitment. That would
yeah.
make watching every Marvel movie from Iron Man all the way up through Endgame. That would make that look like like nothing, man.
We did that, I think, because
Yeah.
when I think I can't remember which Avengers, I don't, it might have been Ultron. It
Mm,
was something, it wasn't like the first one, but Annette watched
right.
some of it and
Yeah.
she's like, I don't get why everybody loves this thing and I don't quite understand what's going on. I'm like, well, that's because you've got to watch them as they come out. So then
Right.
we left it a few years and I think it might have been around Infinity War, which is like, I want to watch all the Marvel ones. So we went back and watched them all. And then
Yeah.
as it carried on, she was like, I really like this series now. And but then we dropped off. I think I dropped around just after Black Panther, I think. Once the TV shows started airing, I'm like, I ain't got time for all this homework. I'm out. And I've been a bit hit and miss with the Marvel stuff I've seen. I enjoyed the Marvels. Thought that was fine.
Yeah.
Madam Web was fine, and that's.
Yeah, man.
It was fine.
Well,
it's okay.
Madam Web was fun. It was like the Venom movies. It felt like we were watching an '80s movie. It felt like we went back in time. And but now they're trying to be so meticulous with, oh, this is the Sony Marvel movie universe versus the Disney and the Marvel, and it just who's in which one, and I don't know. I just
it's too confusing.
These movies singularly. Yeah.
Go in, watch a film, come out 100 minutes later, and go, what's next?
Yep, exactly.
It's so much more enjoyable, which is why I'm enjoying going back watching the older films again that I've not seen for a while. It's great.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I've not seen this for like 20 years. Lost Boys.
Yep. I told you I watched Sharky's Machine.
I need. No, I think you might have mentioned it. Yeah, I need to watch that.
It's funny. It was not as sexy as I thought it was. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe the bulb in the projector was a little darker or whatever in the movie theater here. But I don't remember it being such a romantic movie. And what would never fly these days is Burt Reynolds when he gets pissy at Rachel, whatever her name was. But anyway, and he was like, "Oh, you're being an asshole. I'm gonna smack you around. I'm gonna Sean Connery you." Yeah. And then, oh, I'm sorry, so let's have sex. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
And I think that the younger millennial audience would just be offended. Kind of like if they watch Blazing Saddles. And
where the white women are.
Right.
Brilliant. God, that's such a funny film.
Yep. And that's probably why we won't see another Blazing Saddles again for the next at least 20 years. Yeah. So.
I mean, we're rewatching Friends. Well, Annette's watching it because she's never seen it. I'm rewatching it. And that's not that old a TV show, probably 20, 25 years. So I guess it is old. But there's a lot of things in that we like, oh, you're never get away with that nowadays. And that's from the 90s.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how things
different
shift.
Day and age, man. Yeah. And I don't know. I think there's a balance with comedy in particular. There are certain topics that we all need to talk about. We need to get rid of that elephant in the room. But at what point does it just become gratuitous and inappropriate? I don't know, man. We've trekked into this new universe of etiquette and protocol where, man, I mean, like, I don't understand how a lot of movies how they're even funny. Because they're probably afraid. It's like the Animaniacs when Spielberg brought that back. What was it, 4 years ago, and it was on Hulu, and it was not as funny, but they were trying so hard to be politically correct. And then some of the jokes just, I don't know. I never wanted to see Trump in a diaper with nipple rings. But yet there he was, man. I was like, I don't find this funny. So anyway, I never finished that season.
That doesn't sound like you missed much.
No, man. I mean, the original Animaniacs, I learned so much about, the capitals of every state. There were so many funny songs, Slappy Squirrel. I mean, like, the whole thing was just awesome. And a lot of that fell away. And it was almost like the pruning of the MCU that Deadpool will do, supposedly, right? It's like Slappy Squirrel, never going to see her again. All these other characters, nope. We have Pinky and the Brain. We have, just a few. That's all we can afford. Disney owns everything. Come on, man. I mean, not Disney. Well, Disney probably does. Disney owns Hulu, so probably does own.
Disney owns Hulu, Fox.
Yeah.
So Ripley is she a Disney princess now? She should be, technically.
Right.
She could be.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Yep.
So going back to Mad Max, there was some, and I didn't click on it because I just assumed it was clickbait. But they were saying that Mel Gibson was going to come back for another Mad Max movie.
No,
I can't imagine. I mean, but Yeah.
There's so much clickbait out there now. It's just,
yeah,
it's insane. It's, with it, well, obviously AI, people can make a poster, and apparently Lethal Weapon 5's coming out this September. I've seen the poster. It's not coming out. That film is not going to happen with that cast. Danny Glover's what, mid-70s? Mel Gibson's 68 years old. What? They are too old for that shit now.
Man.
Crazy.
I can hear him now. I'm really, really, really too old for this shit. You've got to amp it up. Yep.
But
Get
it's
the walker out.
Yeah. I don't think you are getting a Mad Max with Gibson.
Yeah. I could see him almost like Schwarzenegger sitting on the throne at the end of the first Conan movie. Whereas, this is the one story in the many tales of Conan, but he was an old Conan sitting on the throne, and So but who knows, man? Who knows what we'll get? So, are you familiar with Sweet Tooth?
I'm familiar. Show? I'm familiar with it. I haven't seen it. Annette watched it. She liked it. I don't think she's finished. However, is it 2 seasons it's been on, or is it 1?
3 seasons.
3 seasons.
And,
wow.
Yeah, man. We just finished that up within the last probably 2 or 3 weeks. But that was sensational. We kind of spaced it out. It's almost like, you don't want to just, eat the whole Thanksgiving turkey. You want to space it out with sandwiches during the week. And really, really good. That was another series that I was very happy that we watched till the end. So it's and it everything is wrapped up. Everything is really. It's just that was another feel good kind of series, especially the ending. So
yeah, I'm really looking forward. I think I'm going to sign up for this Paramount Plus thing. I'm probably going to head into Yellowstone, I think.
Yep. Now, over here, Paramount Plus does not cover Yellowstone. All of the what was it, 1921 and 1860, whatever, but all the but there's no Yellowstone.
Where's Yellowstone then? I thought that was on. I'll let you know whether it's in the UK one, but I thought it was. But
I think it's on Peacock. I think it's like,
which we don't have.
Right. And you're not missing anything, man. After a while, it's like,
well, I am. I'm missing Yellowstone.
Right. And that is well worth watching all the way through. The Continental was on Peacock, and that was really good.
We got that on Amazon over here. So isn't it weird how they're on different? Yeah, we got the Continental on Amazon.
Yeah. Well, I guess, different pieces of the pie. So I guess, they missed out in the US. So in the UK, they decided to score. And that's a smaller piece of the pie, too. So, maybe it was a better deal.
Handmaid's Tale we got on Amazon.
Yeah.
Reacher, which is Amazon. That's that one anyway. But yeah, it's just odd how some shows. We still haven't got HBO Max over here. That's,
Well, I know you can't wait to see Aquaman 2. So
I'll watch it. I'll watch it just to tip the balance on the Amber Heard haters. It's like, you know what? She never did anything to me. I don't care. Whether she's trapped in somebody's bed or not, I'm not bothered.
Yeah, it's funny. That was not why I stopped watching Aquaman 2.
Because it was bad.
We went through it. Halfway, and it was one of those wise moves where I asked both Michelle and Vanel, because they were both here, and I was just like, so. I'm ready to stop this and go on to something else if you guys are game. And they were watching it for me. There was some other movie that we watched with the kids. I think it was Tom and Jerry. And, it was like we got to the end and I was thinking, well, man, I'm glad it's over. And then turns out Kate and Michelle were both like, we watched it for you. No, you didn't watch it for me. I watched it for you guys. We suck. That's 2 hours we can't get back.
And I bailed out of a movie the other night that we'd rented, and it was the Bob Marley biopic.
Yeah.
And it's going to make us sound like a couple of racists, but we're really not. So it's come out this year, so it's like number 9 in the top 10 box office things of the year so far, and it's a biopic around Bob Marley doing a concert to try and bring 2 warring factions together in the Caribbean. So we
gotcha.
both really wanted to watch it, and we put it on and we're watching it, and we got like 15, 20 minutes into it, and Annette looked at me. She went, what do you think of this? I said, it's okay. She went, I can't understand a word they're saying. And I'm like, okay. She said, can you? I said, well, I can understand about 20% of what they say, because the accents, the Jamaican accents, were so strong.
Right.
But also, I suspect because the actors were not Jamaican, the accent just sounded, and our ears were not tuned in. And she's like, oh, I want to watch it. But she's been waiting all year to watch this film. Just like, no, don't watch it. So we bailed out and watched something else instead. But yeah.
It's funny when there are times where we're watching some TV show, and overall, I understand British English, but there was something we were watching, and I was just like, I can't even understand. With all my vast watching of Guy Ritchie movies, pikey English, I mean, all this stuff, and I have no idea. And then we rewound it, and it was, put on the subs, and I had so misinterpreted what they said, totally changed the context. I was like, oh,
now I get it.
Since late, yeah.
But if your ears aren't fully tuned into something, it's like, forget it. You're just not gonna. You're not gonna get there.
And there are times where it's because we have so many accents in the United States. There are times where, like Louisiana accent. Not that means anything to you, but it's just or mushmouth kind of accents where it's very Southern. And man, I have no idea. And
I always, with accents, I have to go. So when you say Southern, do you mean Anne Nicole Smith? They go, yeah. I'm like, okay, right, okay. So I always try and compare it to like a Boston accent. You mean like Ben Affleck in a lot of his movies, like The Town? Yeah, that one. Okay. So that's how I sort of narrow down accents.
I got you. Well, you have somebody like Matthew McConaughey, who is very Southern. He's very Texas, but he's very immaculate with what he says. And he's not speed talking. So you have a lot of time to go, oh, I see where this word is going. But yeah, man, it's, and the Great Baking Show, the Great British Baking Show, which is phenomenal, man. I mean, you have a competition, and every contestant is trying to help the other contestant. So it's like, I'm done with my cake. How can I help you? I want you to succeed. And that does not happen in American shows.
They'd be like turning the oven up.
Oh, man. It's like, oh no, I'm occupying the fryer. So Michelle was watching Chopped, which is an American show where they have, and it's like standard cuisine. Like you're doing the entree, you're doing the main course, and then you're doing dessert. But they give you wonky stuff. It's like, oh, well, here's a hot dog and street tacos, and make a dessert with it. I mean, it's just so. But the judges, and I mean, Paul Hollywood cracks me up, man, because he's always so serious, right? I'm assuming you've seen the show.
Yeah. Well, and Annette watches it religiously, and it's like, oh, that's on. Bye. I'm gonna go watch Mad Max.
But it's good, man, and the heart of the show. But I mean, so Paul will be very, like sometimes he can't figure out what these people are cooking. But the three judges on Chopped, man, they are brutal. And then the announcer guy who he annoys me with, he just always wears this scowl. And everybody's like, oh, well, I don't know why I got chopped because Susie's stuff looked like garbage,
Oh,
like,
no.
Wow. Yeah, man. It's just so mean-spirited. So in contrast with, the British Baking Show. So is that kind of the way people see America, as being unfriendly and British as being very friendly?
I think my experience when I've been in the US is a lot of people do think that the English people are all Downton Abbey. They're all like, oh, hello. There's that. I remember an instance.
It's Mary Poppins, right?
I remember years ago, it was like 1999. So I'd watched The Phantom Menace in LA, and I was staying with an American woman then. And we were all driving out somewhere, whatever, was a whole bunch of us. And there was a huge house that we passed. And then she looked and she went, oh, that house is huge. I went, oh, huge? That's a small house where I come from. Ours are 20 times bigger. Clearly, I was joking. Right. No. It's like, well, there's no need to come over. And she was not happy. She thought it was genuine. So there's all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But no, I don't think over here people think Americans are like, oh, they're all out to put knives in
Right.
each other's. Maybe your politicians are, but to be fair,
Oh my gosh.
the
Yeah.
same thing is happening over here. We've got our general election next week.
Oh wow,
Okay,
man.
so we've had something like
Yeah.
6 or 7 debates. I'm not even kidding. Over the past 2 weeks, where it's the leaders talking, and it's like they're both idiots. They're
Yeah.
Really, this is what we've got. Neither of you are adults, and I know you guys have got you got a debate next week, I believe.
Debate. Oh, we've got our first debate tonight, man.
Is it tonight? Oh wow! Annette and I are really we're like we're gonna watch that. We're not even in America, but for some reason.
Well, I mean, let's face it, man. With Biden's track record over the last, let's say, 4 months. Let's be kind, right?
Yeah.
Man, the Juneteenth celebration, where obviously he had the same problem that the lightsabers had, because he was just like, and the guy next to him was just like, come on, man, slapping him on the back, and he's like, I mean, it was like if you were in the Hall of the Presidents at Disney and there was a malfunction or a power failure. It was bad, man. They say they're going to prop him up on drugs, maybe cocaine. I don't know. But supposedly he's going to be on his game tonight. And then, of course, Trump's going to be there. So it'll be interesting, dude. I want true Captain America to pop out. Not Chris Evans, but I mean the Captain America, the tried and true from the comics. I want him to step out and say, you know what? I'm going to run for president. I only want it for 4 years, and then I'm going to disappear. But I'm going to turn this country around.
Who do you think will win? Which is a different question from who do you want to win? That's a different question, so I won't ask you that one. But who do you think will? Or is it just nothing will surprise you?
Dude, nothing will surprise me, but I think Trump is going to win because I mean, my friend base and family base is everything from middle of the road to the extremes. Like my family that's out in California, it's Democrat all the way. Some of my family this way, it's Republican all the way. And they don't really care as much about who that person is. It's more the flag that they wave. But the people who have been diehard Biden, seeing him malfunction and stumble around on the stage and stuff. And I agree with Sky News, which I catch periodically just to see what the rest of the world is thinking about Biden and the United States. And they were like, this is elder abuse. He should be retired. Why are you allowing this to? Yeah. And I mean, it is sad, man. I mean, like when they're at a big presentation and Biden just kind of turns around. I always do the C-3PO, but he is kind of C-3PO if he was running low on battery. And he turns around and starts wandering off towards the woods. And they're like, whoa, who's looking after him? Go get him, bring him back.
There is a clip though, which I saw on the Bill Maher thing, the real time thing, where they were talking about these, saying there's a lot of news outlets that are editing clips to make it look, and we've all seen clips, so clearly he's a bit, he needs to sit down.
Right.
But there was a clip when he just turned and walked off. And then they showed the full clip where he was walking off to talk to some person who was doing a parachute on the ground. But they cut the clip before he got to them. So you look at the clip and you're like, he's just wandered off to nowhere. But he wasn't. So there's maybe some of it's that. But
could be, man.
I think this debate will make or break him. If he gets his butt kicked in the debate, it's not. It's not good, but he may come out swinging or wetting himself or something. We don't know.
Well, I mean, when you've got Bill Maher made some comment where he's undecided at this point. He has always been very blue, very Democrat. And you have Joe Rogan saying, I am tired of this crap. I'm ready for Trump to come back. And of course, Joe has also said he's ready for Jesus to come back because things are that bad. And so,
come back, Jesus. Yeah.
Right. And so, man. I mean, like, there's a lot of people who have been siding with one, Democrats or Republican, and now they're kind of switching, and there's more indecision by people who are influencers, I guess is what I'm driving at.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I still think the Illuminati has already chosen, and we
Yeah.
really,
Well, here in the UK, we've got the Conservatives that are in power. So they've been in power for 14 years. So they've just
that
like
was crazy hair guy, right?
they've wrecked. And then he quit, and we've had something like 5 prime ministers in the past 12 months or in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. They keep quitting and all. It's madness.
Is it not a posh job, man? I mean, like, how hard is it?
Well,
All I've seen is Love Actually, so I really don't know.
yeah, it's probably not far. I would rather have Hugh Grant as a prime minister. So Rishi Sunak, who's the current prime minister, it looks like he's going to get kicked out because he's a moron. He's an absolute,
right.
He's richer than the King of England. Not even kidding. He's got more money than that. And he's like, I can relate to the people. I can relate. They did an interview on TV with it. So it was the 80th anniversary for D-Day, beginning of June. So they had all the big ceremonies in Normandy. Everybody was there. Our prime minister went. He left halfway through the ceremony because he had an interview to do that was being pre-recorded to be shown the week after. He shows up at the beginning of this interview, and the person, well, thank you very much for showing up. He's like, I'm sorry I'm a bit late. Previous thing overran. The previous thing being the 80-year anniversary for D-Day.
Right.
So this broke all over the news. So it looks like this guy's going to get kicked out and he's going to, be out of a job next week. But I won't be surprised if he somehow, because a lot of people are stupid, aren't they? And
they really are. And it doesn't seem to be a criteria for running for government to give a crap about the people, people that they serve. And I don't know how your Constitution is worded, whatever it's called over, in England.
We don't have one.
I mean, like,
we don't have one.
Wow, man. I guess you have to secede. You have to leave, and then But I mean, it's supposed to set the people up to be in control. But we have given so much power to our government, and I think that's a pandemic of a different nature across the globe.
Yeah.
And it's so they don't have to care. I mean, it's like. I saw something where this guy, and it was I guess it was Parliament. I don't know. I didn't see wigs. I get confused because I don't
it's not,
know that much
not
about
often wigs in Parliament, but yeah.
Oh, okay. But this guy was talking about how negligent the government was about the vaccines that really weren't properly vetted. And but this guy, I mean, like, I enjoyed what he had to say. It was very articulate. He had a stack of papers, and it went on for, I don't know, maybe an hour, somewhere in there. But I mean, like, he had some very good talking points. I don't know of anybody other than Joe Rogan who would have the brass to stand up and go, this, and he kind of has, but everybody's like, but that's Joe Rogan. But this guy was quoting scholars and scientists, and it was a very intelligent conversation. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
not that Joe. I know he's a big fan of your show. Not that.
Of course he is. So. Yeah, I taught Joe how to podcast many years ago, probably before I did. I don't know how long he's been running, but a while. But yeah, so we'll find this time next week, or more or less, we'll have a new prime minister.
Wow, man!
I've told him that. I said if it's the current one and gets back in, I'm done paying attention to. Because we get a lot of people. I don't know if you've got them in the US, but you'll get a lot of people who go, I don't really like either of them, so I'm not going to vote. Not going to bother. It's like, well, that's not going to solve anything, is it? Really, just not voting.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of those over here. It's like pick one.
I admit, when I voted this past time, I just didn't feel good about voting for one or the other. I mean, I was just like, and I didn't like any of the other candidates. So not that he was on the ballot, but I wrote in Dwayne Johnson, which evidently 40% of the people in America did.
Did they really?
It was an overwhelming amount, and he made he did some little press conference and said, I really appreciate this. I'm never going to run for president, but thank you for thinking that I would be, worthy. But yeah, man. But yeah, Michelle, when I told her that, she was like, you wasted your vote. I'm like, No, well, yes, I
Well,
did.
yeah,
So
kind of
you
did,
are correct. Yeah,
but it was funny. So let's move on.
it really was. But
So
who read it? Who read my vote and
Dwayne
said, "Oh,
Johnson,
this guy is funny"? Yeah,
and
Dwayne
the winner
Johnson.
is Dwayne Johnson. Huh? His eyebrow would go up, wouldn't it?
Right. That's right.
So to sort of end on a more positive note, out of
Right.
all the movie presidents or TV presidents that we've had, who
Right.
would you like to go? Do you know what? It's not going to be Donald. It's not going to be Joe. I'm putting them in place. My brain
Right.
springs
Right.
maybe Jed Bartlett from The West Wing. Quite
That
like
is
him.
exactly where my mind went. Yeah.
Yeah. David
Um,
Palmer from 24, possibly.
yeah, yeah. Or who was it that it was that other Kiefer show where because the president and the vice
Oh,
president, everybody
Designated
blew up.
Survivor.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, hey man, if you've got to have a shoe in, it's like, oh, by the way, now you're the president. Yeah, and I guess I'm just a Kiefer fan anyway. So
I think we stick with Kiefer because we started this podcast episode talking
right.
about his father Donald,
Oh
and now we've
yeah,
come
man.
sort of
Yeah.
full circle-ish to go
There
around to
you go.
Kiefer. So I think we'll stick with Kiefer. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But yeah, I was a big West Wing fan. Aaron, was it Aaron Sorkin,
Aaron
the
Sorkin. Yeah,
writer? Yeah, man, dude. If I have a favorite writer of pretty much all time, it's him.
yeah,
That guy can write dialogue that it's magic every
yeah.
single time. And what are they doing on the West Wing? They're walking around, man,
They
and
are.
people come and go, and they just keep. But you don't. It's not like some of the really labored dialogue that you get in other movies and TV shows where you just feel like, man, there's too much talking. But
Mm.
when Aaron's writing, man, yeah, I took his master class, which was I enjoyed that too, man. So yeah, and of course by taking his master class, it is through master class.
Yes,
Sometimes like yeah, I took a writing class from Aaron Sorkin, and they're like going, holy how did you pull that off?
the internet.
Master class. Yeah,
I went
yeah,
online. I'll
that's
send you
it.
the link.
Yeah, through my laptop, man. Calm down. No,
Yep.
don't think of me that way.
I remember spending a few hours with Aaron Sorkin, and he was telling me
Right,
about his writing.
right.
Yeah. Next week, I'm going to take a photography masterclass with Anne Leibovitz.
That's
Do that one.
man. Yep. And
That's a
that
good
was
one.
good too.
That was a good one.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen that one. James Cameron,
Yeah.
good one. There are some good
Oh,
masterclasses.
man, and I appreciate these people, and I don't know how much they were paid, how they get paid, or anything, but James Cameron is so excited to share his knowledge.
Yeah.
I think he would have done it for free, man. I'm sure he got paid, but
Yeah.
yeah, man, his class was really good.
Ron Howard, I enjoyed his.
Dude, and the guy's, I mean, like, he is Opie Taylor. I mean,
Yeah.
he is just so nice, and this is how you might want to do it, but I don't know everything, but this is kind of good. I mean, like, I'm like, holy crap, man. James Cameron's like, still with a smile, still sharing. But yeah, man,
Yep.
it's you wonder if he is just like Mr. Rogers incarnate, or if he has those moments where he just has a meltdown and throws things on the set.
Well, it's like
So
Mick Garris is another one who
yeah,
I've met him on one occasion face to face,
yeah,
and then spoke to him virtually. Nicest guy ever. And I
yeah,
was very excited once when I heard him on his podcast, his Ask Mick Anything one. People were like, do you ever lose your temper? And he went, I did once when I was making
yeah,
a stand and things weren't going right. They weren't going well.
yeah.
So I walked around the back of these pile of boxes and kicked a can. And I'm like, so he does lose his temper now and again. He is a real person. He's
Right.
not a robot. What are you up to for the rest of the day? Anything exciting?
No, I'm actually thinking about taking tomorrow off. I still have to call my boss and let him know that, but
Oops.
yeah, yeah, man. But that's what PTO and vacation is for. So, and then,
Yeah.
but I have no idea. Michelle has yet to get home, or if she's gotten home. My one dog has not, heard her come in or whatever. So, but I mean, then again, she is so busy, rolling
Sleeping.
around
Yep.
and licking herself. Then I guess she's Yeah, so maybe she is Miss Michelle. But yeah, whatever. It'll, I guess, dinner. Maybe it'll be date night. I don't know, man.
Rent
So,
If. Sit down and watch If.
okay.
You'll
All
you
right.
will you
Sounds
will love
good,
it.
man.
You can send me a thank
Okay.
you tweet later on.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I'm going to find something to watch. I'm not quite sure what, but I'm going to sign up for this Paramount and have a look and see if Yellowstone is in fact on there. If it's not, I'll be very disappointed because it's like, why are you putting the spin-offs on there? Just wrong.
I
Why?
still can't understand it. And I even looked it up, like search for it because it looks like it would pop up with all the rest if they had it. But they don't have it in the US. But I mean, Peacock supposedly does, and I'm not paying for Peacock too. So good luck with that, man. And let me know.
Thank you.
That,
I will indeed.
Man.
I will indeed. At some point, what we should do in a future topic as well, whichever streamers you've got, put a list together of 3 shows that you would recommend from each of those streamers, and I'll do the same for the streamers I have, and we can do that as a conversation at some point.
And put an asterisk beside the TV show that saved that streaming network from being canceled by me. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. I do indeed.
House of Dragons. Yeah, man.
Yes.
You know.
But yeah, and very cool Star Wars. Thank you for showing those off as well.
Impressive
I don't know if
stuff. I'll let you go after this, but this was this was a block of wood that I started making a lightsaber of when I was out in Utah visiting my brother-in-law's family, and being the nice guy that he is, man. I mean, like I had the pattern and everything all cut out. I was ready to make it. And he decided to make it and send it to me after we got back, because I figured, well, we'll see you again in another 2 years, and I'm assuming we'll, knock the dust off that block. But then the strange package arrived, and I didn't know what it was. It's strange size. And then, but yeah, man, he had done this. So yeah, so that's right there with the rest of my lightsaber collection.
What was the TV show you mentioned where a wet dildo fell out? That's not not a prop from Sense8, is it?
But I really didn't know. I was like, I know I haven't ordered this, so
yeah, it's like, really, John? No, I didn't order it.
Right. Right. It's a new lightsaber. Yeah.
That one actually looks better than the ones in the Acolyte, though. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. But yeah, I shall let you go for now, John.
It works better for sure, man.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does.
Yep.
But yeah.
Dude, it was awesome catching up with you as always.
You too. I'm glad you're better. I'm glad the 24-hour stomach bug only lasted 24 hours. It's very confusing when a 24-hour one lasts 72 hours. It makes no sense.
Right. But in the event that it would only last 12 hours, then that's fine too. I'm all for, shortening the
biological economy is improving with Joe Biden. Yeah. But you enjoy your day off tomorrow.
Hey, thank you. And tell Annette hello, and Michelle, before we even started the show, she said, be sure to tell Stuart hello. So there you go. Much belated, but yeah, man.
Fantastic. All right. You take care, John.
Man. All right, dude. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.